Hello everybody and welcome back to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. My name is Avi and today I will be playing your local real kind detective Shiro Azumi. And with me today is my wonderful friend who I adore very much, who has wonderful characters, who has big brain ideas.
Stop! You're gonna make me blush. But yes, hi everybody. I am Cartoon Kitsune, also known as Kit, and today I am playing the mirror system. My lovely, lovely gals. Specifically for today, Lyra's the one fronting, because it's been a while since she and Azumi have hung out.
Oh, it sure has.
Yeah.
A lot's been happening, huh?
Yeah, and needless to say, I think she could definitely use like a nice day out where hopefully nothing will happen.
No,
Certainly hoping it won't.
very much hopeful of that.
Mm-hmm.
But because of all the things happening, Sumi's decided to take Aurelia on a day out uh,
Yeah,
to Good Time Town for the little carnival that's
because she
there.
hasn't been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the fun little carnival there. Yeah. Uh, I was curious. Do you think you would have brought Cora with them? Because I mean, Angelique always tags along. She's probably in one of her animal
Oh,
forms.
absolutely. Koro's walking
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And he has a little, probably a little torty cat sitting on his back.
He is perfectly alright with that.
He is the noblest of steeds.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, these two are having a very good time. Probably looking around the rides, the little shop stalls, whatever they got, and they're probably catching up on like what they've been up to recently. Aside from the sort of things that they obviously know about,
Oh, yeah.
or yeah,
Yes.
because they're kind of trying to take their minds off of recent events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty to talk about. Honestly, I think if Lyra's fronting, because this probably takes place after yesterday's FBS, where Aurelia finally confessed to Leo and how that all went down. I think Lyra probably would be like telling Azumi how that all went down. Funny thing is that like she kind of does it in the way like like an older sister or like talk about their younger sibling like oh yeah she did this and she was so brave about it and all that.
Azumi, straight face, and just goes, Aurelia can do better than Leo.
I think Lyra just kind of like playfully shoves him like, oh, don't be mean to him. He's a very sweet boy.
Oh, there's no denying that. He's just oblivious.
Uh, I guess I was going to say he apparently he hadn't even noticed that she had her little crush on him for so long, which is
um,
quite a feat in and of itself, admittedly.
quite.
And what about yourself? Been up to anything? Any cases you're working on currently, or?
uh, Not much outside of the usual sphere of murder and crimes in Valestown and Toontown. Not much on the front of the Spirit Rogues yet, but I have a feeling that might change soon.
Ah, really? What would make you say that? And you can roll insight on her.
First roll, nat 20.
There we go. There is our stupid lucky detective boy.
God, what was your mod? It's been forever since I've played him. Yes, that's
I
what
know
I
it's
thought it
it's
was.
disgusting, whatever it is.
It's double digits, that's for sure.
That is a 30, ladies and gentlemen. God, this boy. Yeah, I'd say with that insight, she's been like pretty chill for the most part. Like while you guys have been out and about. Maybe you've kind of noticed like sort of like an undercurrent of nervousness, but you could probably just chalk it up to like, oh, there's a lot of kind of bad stuff has been happening recently, so like maybe this has her tiny bit on edge. Yeah, you mentioning like something big might happen soonish. Like, she's pretty good at like keeping a poker face. Like Lyra especially is good at that. But you know her well enough to like notice like the little tells, like her hands kind of clenching a little bit and like tensing up, that sort of thing.
Azumi is just. I have a feeling he's probably like in like the off-screen time trademark. Azumi's
Hmm.
probably mentioned the Speared Rogues from time to time, and I'm like, oh yeah, he is uh trickster of the Speared Rogues' rival. Um,
Right, yeah. She
uh,
she would know like that about like Arata's trickster though, right? Like I assume
she
that's
would
probably kept under
not
wraps.
know.
That's what I
That's a
figured, yeah.
big secret.
Definitely. Yeah, but no, she would have heard about the Spirit Rogues before. I mean, this is the town of like, thieves and detectives, and between that and Phantom L, she's definitely heard about them by now.
Yeah. The funny thing is that errata tends to be sorry, not errata. Trickster tends to be pop up more often near Toontown and Gisnip. Um,
Right, yeah.
but
Which
like,
coincidentally happens to be where Trickster lives, but I'm sure there's no connection there.
did you mean to say Trickster?
Arata, I mean, sorry. Which coincidentally is where Arata lives.
Yeah. Um. Uh. Um. Azumi's just like it's not like them to spend this long with such silence. You could say, expecting a big heist or another move. They might move back to Yedo at some point. In any case, any how you say any move I make is likely going to be temporary. I will be still be in Inkwell.
Right, of course. And what would you say to that? Words. And we can always keep in contact, even if you're overseas. Remind me, do the plot devices work in Yeto as well, or
As far as I understand, yes, so long as they have something to reach, but the signal can be quite difficult. Uh,
right, right, yeah. Hands tense up slightly again, kind of like sort of like a like tense release sort of thing.
Azumi's just, you could always come with, you know.
Actually, that would be. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing what Yeto is like. It sounds like a rather fascinating country from what you've told me about it so far.
It is quite a place.
Hmm.
Lovely place to travel. Shame I only ever stayed in Okashima, but I think you'd like it.
Certainly. I mean, well, Billstown's quite the big city, but I've heard Okashima is quite the metropolis as well.
Yes, so big that in order to get from one district to another, you have to take a train.
Really now. Well, if you have the time for it, when the time comes for you to go back, I would certainly love to accompany you.
You and several others, I'm sure.
Certainly.
He's probably like in this lull of conversation. He's probably gonna take her to another like game stand or something. Um,
Hey.
has Lyra like done anything like this? Um,
Um, Possibly. I mean, I know that I know she and the boys went to Anqua Land at one point, like the that big amusement park. I don't know if they have carnival games there, but she's probably like seen something like that before.
yeah,
Yeah. At the very least, she's like familiar with the concept.
yeah. Whatever the game is, he's probably gonna like show her how to play it, whatnot, have like a brief moment of fun in the middle of all this.
Yeah, definitely. We want to like do a dex roll to see like how well they might do.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
straight
just for funsies.
practice. Dex. I can talk. Ugh.
Yeah. That's a 13 from her.
Cool. That was a
Mhm.
16 from Azumi.
Hey, nice. Yeah, I'd say Lyra like might be like barely enough to win one of like the smaller prizes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just like, oh, that was wonderful.
Yes, that was quite fun. Um, Let me think. She'd I think she'd probably say like so with the Spirits Bros case, you've more so been sort of following their movements, yes?
For the most
Or
part,
is there
yes.
any yeah anything other like other aspect to the case or
In what way?
um hmm, how would you say this? Oh, I don't know. Just I mean, trailing is one thing, but well, I know your line of work can get dangerous every now and then. So from what I've heard, the spirit rogues aren't exactly. I mean, they're more the just sort of thieves. From what I've heard. So
If you're worried about my safety in regards to the case, I have it on full authority that Trickster and I have a strict policy of not harming the other. In fact, Trickster himself prefers not to harm anyone at all.
ah, right, of course, yes. I mean, I know that you're more than capable of taking care of yourself. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes before, so I know I don't have anything to worry about.
Are you worried about something?
Yeah, she kind of like does the thing where like her mouth sort of forms like a hard line, that sort of thing. Like, mm, maybe just a tiny bit.
Well, I can't blame you. Several things have happened in rapid succession.
Indeed, and well, I don't consider myself superstitious or anything, but you've well, you know how Banquo can be with like its tropes and whatnot, and you've heard of the concept of the rule of three, yes?
Yes, you think I might also be a victim of something soon.
Well, it sounds rather ridiculous when it's said aloud, doesn't it?
No, it's a considering Einquell's culture and themes. Zooey, who does not believe in the plot.
Yeah.
uh, Considering the culture and Einquell's themes, it's a reasonable assumption to make, but I have it on authority that. Actually, no, he wouldn't phrase it like that. Give me a second. Let me find the words again.
All good.
He says, I can assure you that at the moment I have mostly resolved whatever stress I might have in regards to my family. And any repressed issues, emotional or otherwise, has been taken care of about a year or so ago.
Ah, I see. Well, that's actually quite a relief to hear. I mean, granted, I didn't really know what your family situation was. And again, I didn't really know how quite a few people's family situation was, and well, that ended up sort of blindsiding me a bit in regards to the professor. But well, I know it's rude to pry into people's private affairs, which is admittedly it's a going to be a bit of a double-edged sword, so to speak, when given recent events. I mean, on the one hand, I want to respect people's privacy, but she kind of shakes her head. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I suppose this was, yeah.
Oh
Well, I
no,
suppose this was something that could, yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, you keep
I
going.
suppose this is, yeah. I suppose this is something that would be a bit inevitable, given that I've only acquainted myself with most of these people for only a few months, while all of you have known each other for years now. It's to be expected I'd be a bit out of the loop in terms of certain events.
You're in the company of detectives. I don't believe anybody can quite say anything on the subject of being curious.
That is true. You are quite a nosy bunch, no offense.
None taken.
Still, it's, well, we're never quite sure how much is appropriate to ask about, and, on the one hand, we'd like to stay informed so that we know what might happen, but on the other hand, we don't want to pry too deeply and be impolite, so.
He kind of raises a brow at her and says, do you want to know?
Um, well, I mean, if you'd be okay sharing that, I mean, it sounds like it's, rather personal to you.
Well, yes, it is, but I don't mind sharing with you. Just, he looks around trying to find a more secluded area.
Yeah, and I think she'd probably have the same idea. Do you want to roll something for this?
Yeah, I might just roll a straight perception to see if he can find, like, something out of the way.
Yeah.
Oh, that was low for you, buddy. Not that it matters.
How about I give him a help action since like they're both looking?
Okay, that first roll was a 7. The second one was a 16 on the dice.
Hey, nice.
There we go.
There's a 26 total. God, this
Alright.
boy and his modifiers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say it's maybe like probably not like a picnic area because like even if that's empty, there's usually like a few people. Probably like there's probably like some like little alcoves or whatever at carnivals like this for people need to like sit in the shade for a bit.
Yeah, there's probably something like that, and Azumi probably offers like an elbow to Lyra and just kind of like guides her there.
Aw. I think she'll even remark like, such a gentleman as always.
Can't help it.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Hmm. And he's leading her to this more quiet space away from all the noise. And a bit probably shaded. It's summer, um, so it's probably like cooler in this area. And Azumi just kind of like brings her there. Maybe there's a table. He kind of just sits
Yeah.
on one side and like lets Koro just chill out.
Yeah, imagine the animals just like flopped under the table.
Yeah. All right. Well. Um, where to begin? Um. My family situation is quite complicated, and how you say, he makes a wave with his hand as if to like gesture at something. He says, very sensitive. Um,
Right, you've never really mentioned your parents to my knowledge, so.
for good reason.
Mm.
Well, I suppose I can start with this. My father was a reprehensible man. he had an affair with my mother, and I was conceived as a result of that. But as a result, my father abandoned my mother and I never knew him growing up. Um, in the culture I am from, however, a woman having a child out of wedlock is seen as taboo, um, very very scandalous, you could say. She was My mother was shunned um, by the people around her, and had quite a bit of difficulty of taking care of both herself and I. And when I was still a child, the weight of responsibility was too much for her to bear, and she ended up taking her own life.
And yeah, I think Lyra is just kind of like silently listening along to this and just kind of like nodding along. Her face definitely falls as she hears that. Her kind of sad and sympathetic sort of look. Like, I'm so very sorry you've had to go through all that. She kind of like mutters a bit more quietly and like, once again, I sincerely wish I didn't have so much in common with you in that regard.
Hmm.
Well, I can't really complain. I mean, for all my issues with my own parents, your life was significantly more difficult. I can imagine. Or at least I had had a nice place to live and all that.
Oh, hush. This isn't a competition of who had it worse.
Oh, fair enough.
But it's still only.
Like, yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna say, still, I can't imagine it was easy to go through.
well, it really wasn't. Um,
Hmm.
you could say my life was completely ruined by that fact alone. I, after my mother's death, well, there wasn't really anybody able to take care of me. My uncle was had his hands full with his work in a far distant town from where we lived. So he was. Well, he wasn't exactly a man best suited to taking care of a child. Um, so I was placed into Yeddo's child institution system, and I remained there.
I take it, I don't want to assume, but I take it things didn't work out quite so well with any of the foster families you were placed with.
He shakes his head.
I'm
Um,
so sorry.
uh, it's in the past.
Well, that still doesn't make it sting any less. Speaking from experience, anyway.
He kind of just shrugs and he says, well, it's not exactly easy, I suppose you could say, getting adopted out of the system with the way I was introduced into it. Um, Ghetto's documentation meant that I was never officially given to a system on record, which meant that adoption was extremely difficult. And, well, I did whatever I could to make myself desirable to any potential adopters for years.
Goodness, how dreadful. I mean, that's not fair at all. You were only a child at the time.
Child with quite a lot of ambitions, I suppose you could say.
Mm.
without proper care, without emotional needs being met, it can damage a child's development. I myself was no different.
Hmm.
For for the longest time, the only thing I had on my mind from my prepubescent years and into my adolescence was vengeance. I wanted to get back at the man who abandoned my mother, which was extremely difficult.
Were you ever able to find him? I mean, if you left your mother when before you were born or when you were young, then I'd assume it'd be difficult.
Oh, he made himself quite popular in Yeto's political sphere. In fact, he was at one point the prime candidate to becoming the prime minister.
Ah, I believe the proper term for this would be yikes.
As Leo might put it, big yikes.
Indeed.
He kind of chuckles and shakes his head, and he says, there are things about my relationship with my family that I think if I told you, you might think differently of me.
It's all right. You don't have to tell me absolutely everything. I mean, I'm sure we both have plenty of things we'd rather keep close to the chest, even if we are good friends. Yeah.
I suppose the difficulty in speaking about this is trying to find, uh, I suppose you could say, the a fine line, because it hardly seems fair to me that I saw quite a bit of your background, and you hardly know anything about mine.
Yes, indeed. We had a similar conversation with the professor, in fact, a while ago. I mean, on the one hand, you don't owe us anything simply because you saw so much of us. I mean, well, Aurelia invited you into her mind, and if she hadn't done so, then, well, I might not be here, to say the very least. And might even have like a little involuntary like shudder run up her spine just at the thought of that.
He kind of just shakes his head and is like, no use dwelling on that specifically. You are working to.
Indeed, and I'd rather not if I can help it. Mm.
I'm trying to figure out
So,
how. Oh,
and now she would continue to getting back on topic though. So you wish to try and seek out your father, but given his position, he would be rather difficult to reach, to say the very least. Certainly well protected.
very much so. But I, at the time, was, how you say, very intelligent. That's not a boast. I was top of my classes. Um,
Oh no, I'm well aware of that. I mean, I'd certainly agree with you.
um, but I did try to make myself known as a detective at a very young age. I was 15 when I was taken under the wing of an individual in Yedo who is
Hmm.
actually quite famous worldwide for being a impressive detective himself. Um, they used to call him the Detective Prince before I inherited that title, so to speak. Um,
She kind of nods. I don't know if I should roll history to see if she'd heard of him or not.
You can.
Like a worldwide fame sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a dirty
Ooh.
20. Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
You
But to be fair,
definitely.
I have established Lyra is like very much into like mystery novels and stuff, so she'd probably like know about a famous detective.
Okay, so that means I can give you two things with this.
Ooh.
um, the name of the detective Azumi is referring to is Naoya Shirahara,
Ooh.
who is a trans masculine detective um, from Yedo, who is
Mhm.
as Azumi said, when he was a teenager, he was referred to as a detective prince, the detective prince of Yedo.
Mhm.
Um, what else can I give you with that? Not
Doesn't his family like have like a long line of like
yes,
brilliant detectives? Yeah, that's the
yes.
thing.
He comes
Yeah.
from a line of detectives. His father was a detective, and so was his grandfather. Um,
Ooh.
and you might have heard whispers of like controversy while Naoya was trying to make himself stand out from his lineage, um,
Mm-hmm.
because when he was really young, he hadn't transitioned yet.
Right. Yeah.
um, and there was this huge thing where everybody thought he was a boy, and then like people thought he might be a girl. No, he's a boy. Oh, he's definitely a guy.
Double plot twist. He was a boy all along, and not even he knew that.
um, what else? With a dirty 20 though, I can also give you that how do I put it? Uh Naoya Shirahara-san um is a name that does come up in mystery novels. Uh
Huh.
Specifically novels written by a Yui Nakamura, who is a
Hmm.
well-known Yiddish author.
Yeah, that guess I could say Lyra's definitely read some of his books then with that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think she definitely like she kind of goes quiet for a moment as she's sort of like putting this together, and then like her like mouth kind of opens in surprise, and she has this very like starstruck look on her face, like, wait, so you mean to tell me you apprenticed under Naoya Shirahara then?
Yes, he was my senpai.
Goodness, that's incredible.
It was pure luck, really, that I ended up under his wing. Um, we worked together on many cases until I started to set off on my own. Um, in Okushima, I eventually made a name for myself, um, which was quite difficult because the police there do not take kindly to a child doing their job better than them.
I think that last kind of a character.
I let me see if I can put this into proper words. It's always very difficult to understand to explain to those who aren't from Yedo. There
Mhm.
is great emphasis put on the integrity of the police force. No,
Mhm.
perhaps integrity is not the proper word. The swift justice that they conduct.
She kind of grimaces a little bit of that, kind of picking up on the subtext of that.
Yes. If if the police cannot do their job and solve a crime, it is seen as quite the scandal by the public. Um, so I made a name for myself. The public really liked me when I started to do that. Um, I became quite famous for a bit.
I believe you mentioned that back when we were in the Demyth in fact, that you were a bit of a celebrity.
Was. I was. Um, but, how do I put it? Um, hmm. The attention drew the eye of the Prime Minister, and at some point I managed to infiltrate his circle.
Kind of just like nods along, listening quietly.
And then one day, and this might come as a great shock to you, I died.
Yeah, I think she just like kind of stares wide-eyed for a few moments, and there's just this like, pardon? You, I hear that correctly? You died? Well, right. Hold on. I nearly forgot. Revival magic is indeed a thing, isn't it? I suppose someone must have healed you in the nick of time, yes? Or
No. Uh, for about 2 years, I was dead. And
huh?
then
Oh, um,
one day I woke up in Inkwell.
huh? That's Oh well, goodness, I don't even know where to begin with that.
Quite honestly, neither do I.
I can imagine. I mean, well, I suppose to begin with, do you know who killed you, or?
I'm not sure if you heard that sigh, but it was in character.
I heard it.
Yeah, Azumi says, it was my father.
Ah,
I don't
mm,
completely know if he knew I was his illegitimate child. I took great care in keeping that part of my identity hidden. But I suppose perhaps part of him always suspected. And I think he might have always planned on disposing of me. And in that regard, he was successful.
mm. She's kind of like clenching her hands again, and her shoulders are shaking a little. Mostly out of just like anger, just like hearing this. This person, your biological father, is he still in a position of power, or?
Absolutely not.
Oh, thank heavens.
um, I forgot to say, during the time with my rise as the new detective prince, I became invested in the case of the Spirit Rogues and eventually established myself as Trickster's rival. Um, After I had woken up in Nyquil, I quickly learned that my father was targeted by the Spirit Rogues and confessed to many crimes. And he is currently rotting in jail where he belongs.
Oh, well, good riddance to that man, certainly.
Quite.
And that's putting it lightly. Goodness, you should hear what Evelyn's saying right now in our head.
And he's like, do you feel like sharing?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you feel like sharing?
I'd rather not. I mean, I'm not very fond of swearing or voicing death threats.
Oh, believe me, anything she might have to say on the matter is quite light compared to what I would.
Oh goodness, and I thought the things you two were planning on doing to Mr. Bavertill were bad. Good heavens.
Ugh, don't get me started on that man.
Oh, let's not. Uh, well, at any rate, well, that's how you came to pass away, so to speak. But have you found out, like, um, have you been able to find out how you were revived then, or really how you ended up in an entirely different country, for that matter?
He shakes his head as a car horn honks outside. Shut the fuck up!
They're having this conversation. Meanwhile, like an object head tuned with like a bike horn for a head walks past.
Sui's just like, oh god damn it.
I think from underneath the table, Angelique like just meows at them, like, "Do you mind?" Sheesh.
She just has to do it over the barking. Just the
Exactly.
woof, woof. Oh god.
All right, you two, settle down.
Yeah, Azumi just kind of rubs a hand on Koro's back.
Yeah.
Before he's just I've not been able to find much on whoever brought me back to life, except a few things.
Kind of tilts her head curiously.
He pauses for a moment, trying to figure out how to put this into words in an order that makes sense.
Right.
I cannot say for certain if my revival was part of an ulterior motive. At the moment, I suspect it is. But at the time of my revival, I had been under a enchantment spell, which, mind you, is already seen as quite taboo in Yedo. In Yiddish culture, enchantment magic, any form of magic that alters the mind is seen as morally reprehensible.
Oh, certainly. I mean, to my knowledge, I believe it would be same case in Strios as well, and many other parts of the world.
And he nods and he says, I was found to have been enchanted with the spell Geas. Are you by any chance familiar with that spell?
Let me roll history on that, because she has been studying magic. Uh,
History or
that's
Arcana?
an 11. Uh, yeah, her arcana's worse, so I'll just go with history.
Alright, that's fair. Let me
That's an 11, so.
see this again real quick, just so I have the description.
Alright. I don't think that's a warlock spell, so. Yeah, it's not, so it makes sense that you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that one.
And Izumi frowns and he says, it is a very harmful spell, or at the very least it can be. The caster enchants an individual, placing them under a command that the target must complete within a certain amount of days. And if they act in any manner that goes against this command, they can be harmed. And the only way to end this spell prematurely is through the use of other spells such as remove curse or greater restoration.
She nods. I see. So from what it looks like, assuming the individual who revived you also placed the spell on you, then it was so they revived you and then compelled you to complete whatever this action was.
Quite.
May I ask what it forced you to do? Or
To find Trickster and repair my relation with him. And here is where it gets stranger. The Gia spell I had been under was modified.
in what way?
There was nothing about the spell that would have harmed me. So I have reason to assume that whoever did this has no intention of putting me in danger or harming me directly.
Hmm. I suppose that would make sense. It would be rather strange to revive you from the dead and then put you at risk of dying if you went against their commands.
Even stranger still, I would have done this without the use of the spell.
Hmm. That implies that whoever did this wanted to ensure that you did it, regardless of what you wanted to do.
Quite.
Hmm. That begs the question of why would they want you to do that?
And he nods. That.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hi, kitty. Hello. Hi,
Aw.
Luna. Luna interruption.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, little noise.
She made a little meh.
Aw.
Right. It's slap time for Luna. I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
playing with her in my lap.
Yeah. Nice.
Um, I haven't the slightest idea of why they would want me to be in good graces with Trickster, or the Spirit
Hmm.
Rogues for that matter. I was not exactly the best compatriot to them.
Well, you are rivals, though that word can have quite a few different meanings from what I understand.
Hmm. When I was younger, I was completely convinced that I hated Trickster.
Hmm.
So I was not exactly the most fair to him, you could say.
Hmm. Right. Not to mention you and the police were presumably tracking them down at the time.
Yes.
Either way, you would have been at odds with one another.
Mm. Luna, what are you doing?
What
She keeps
the
rubbing her.
kitty doing?
She keeps trying to rub her nose into my chin.
Aw. He loves you.
Yeah, she does. Um. Yeah. What else does he say? A group of us did go back to Yedo to see if there was anything we could find. Um, During this time, I was emotionally distraught, and I had a bit of trouble conducting the investigation myself. So a good majority of the details that were uncovered was done by others who were assisting me at the time. But we did find some other things in Okashima that rang as strange in the same way this Gia spell did.
Such as?
And he kind of furrows his brows and tries to come up with a way to, like, put it into words. Things that seem too good to be true. An incredible streak of good luck happening to several people, all unrelated to each other, out of nowhere. Nothing to suggest that they are connected other than they just seem to have a bit of good luck. Almost like someone wanted them to be happy.
It is rather strange. It's probably quite unlikely. I mean, we don't know what this person behind it, what their motives are. Honestly, I doubt this is the case, but well, when I think of people's wishes suddenly being fulfilled, I can't help but think of likely not the Prince of Words himself, but perhaps another devil might be acting that way. So if that were the case, they would I would assume the people involved would know that something would be owed for the assistance given. They wouldn't hide themselves away.
Azumi shakes
I
his
mean,
head.
The prince was rather upfront about what he was doing and collecting on his contracts.
Yeah, Azumi shakes his head and he said, no, this was very different. Whoever is fulfilling these wishes has been doing so anonymously. Or at the very least, did not make themselves known.
Which is especially strange, I must say.
And he nods. And he says, it just... It's just so strange. In any case, with myself specifically, I know for a fact that that whoever this culprit is, who brought me back to life, obviously wants me to stay alive. I had a very close call in a separate case, and I was knocked unconscious and quickly got back on my feet in a way that an ordinary healing spell should not have.
So, in other words, you're theorizing that perhaps whatever magic they used to revive you might be preventing you from dying at all. Sort of a nigh permanent resurrection spell, so to speak.
Maybe so. Maybe. I can't help but shake the feeling that perhaps they want me for something in the future.
I see. Is a rather worrying thought if that is the case. I would shudder to think if some powerful being of some sort is planning on using you for something.
I do as well. I don't take kindly to being someone else's puppet.
And nor should you.
Other strange things about this case. There is enough evidence to suggest that while the culprit is powerful, they don't seem completely competent with the power at their hands. It
Mm.
is. Oh, how did he describe it? It was almost as though the power was new to them, and they were still trying to learn how to use it.
Mm. I suppose that would explain why only a certain number of people have been affected by this.
Mm-hmm. I'll admit. Oh, sorry. I just heard noises, and I like looked up, and no, my wife is just sneezing in the other room.
Oh, hi, Queenie.
um, God, what was he saying? Oh yes, I'll admit. Um, Another reason why I would want to go back to Yedo is to do further investigation. See if anything's changed, see if anything's different, and also because, well, the first time I wasn't quite in the right state of mind to conduct research, to conduct investigation myself.
Mhm.
That said, if we do end up making another trip, you are more than welcome to join us.
Indeed, I was about to say, actually, as nice as it would be to go there simply for leisure, I would certainly want to come along to assist you with this in any way I can. I mean, well, we still owe you our lives, of course, and even if we're not obligated to repay you, I still would want to.
You don't owe me anything.
I know, but I would still like to do this if you would permit me to. I may not be a proper detective, but I would be happy to offer any assistance I can.
I'd very much appreciate it.
Mm.
Still, though, that might be some time away. I will let you know if we do end up going back to Yedo. It is quite the distance, and Yedo is definitely not Furuma.
Indeed. Still, we've been wanting to see more of the world, and as lovely as Anquil has been, I would enjoy seeing more places as well. And I'm sure you would as well, wouldn't you, Angelique? And Angelique gives a little Mwah! From the floor.
You know, I
I
do.
do. I am one. Oh, sorry. You go.
Oh, you go.
Okay. Mm. I do have to wonder though, if indeed this magic that revived you is still keeping you alive. Hmm. I wonder if you had managed to lose your fight with the prince back then. I wonder if it would have prevented him from taking your soul at all. I mean, if you're unable to die, then
I'm sure he would have been quite frustrated with that.
oh, certainly I can imagine. Come to think of it, Dr. Crystal was afflicted with her illness at the time too. If he had tried to take her soul, then that might have been passed on to him as well. Goodness, that would have been quite the unpleasant surprise for him.
Let's just say that all three of us was in a unique position in which he would not be able to have easily gotten any of our souls. He
I
kind
think
of like
Anjali's kind of like, yeah, snickering along too. Yeah.
um I think with like his line, like what he says, he kind of gives a playful little wink at that.
Oh goodness, could you imagine the look on his face? He would have been furious.
As much as I would loved to have seen it, I'm rather glad that did not come to pass. Uh,
Oh, most certainly.
Goodness knows, dying the first time was awful.
Oh, of course.
God, Sorry, I just had like this moment out of character in the middle of the FPS where I'm just like, God, Azumi, you're joking about this now. What the fuck?
Man, he really has come a long way, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Uh, um, I think after a moment, though, Azumi just goes, on the subject of Yero, though, there is an acquaintance of mine that I think you might be interested in meeting. Um,
Who might that be?
uh, hmm. Are you familiar with the name Akisato?
Let's see if she is. 16, so maybe?
Yes. You might have heard whispers of this name. Furun was pretty
Hmm.
far away from Yedo, so I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, she has also been living in Inkwell for like several months, so she might have heard it since then.
yeah, okay. I know Lyra was the one fronting most of the time when they were still in Furuma, right?
Yeah, she was the majority of the time.
Okay,
So,
and she lived in a sphere nobility, so it would make sense that
yeah, exactly.
at the very least, she might
Hmm.
have heard the name Akisato as a name of a foreign uh, nobleman with
Hmm.
no other context. Um,
Yeah, she probably just like heard the name in passing, and that was about it.
um, she might have heard the name Akisato in recent times because Arata's friends have been visiting on and off again. Um, and uh, Hatsumi Akisato is doesn't really show up at the Layton household that often, but Arata does talk about his friends from time to time.
And
I
so she might have heard the name in passing as well.
Yeah.
Hmm. I believe isn't Arata acquainted with someone by that name?
And Azumi nods and he says, "Yes, Hatsumi Akisato. She is also a noblewoman with quite a bit of wealth.
Oh, that's why I've heard that name before as well. Thought that might be the case. I've only ever heard it in passing. Those high society parties, there's quite a bit of gossip that goes around.
Quite, yes. You don't have to tell me about that. But
Mm.
about her, she is. I think you two would get along. She is also, how you say, not the most sociable at such parties. She is. She does not like to keep face because it is very difficult to do so, especially with certain individuals in high society. Um,
Certainly sounds a bit more grounded than most of the nobles I'm acquainted with. Certainly quite a bit of a rarity in that world, but yes, if that's the sort of person she is, I would love to make her acquaintance.
yes, I'm sure we can. Sure, I could speak with her. See if we can do anything
Mhm.
with that. But that's about all I have on my life. Do you have any questions?
No, I think that's about the gist of it. But Trip to Yeddo would certainly be something to look forward to at the very least. Well, I assume it might depend on what time of year it's at, but depending on what's happening at the time.
Yes, yes. Um, hmm. Oh fuck!
Would you
I almost dropped
Yeah.
my dice. this is
No.
this is what I
Yeah, I
get
think she kind
for
of sighs and
faking.
says, "Yeah, no worries." I think she kind of sighs and says, like, "Ah, hard to believe it's most of the year's flown by already.
Quite.
Mm.
Suppose we ought to make a safety plan for that.
Indeed. Well, the good news is we are quite a bit better prepared for that as well. I mean, the mansion is much more well protected between having the servants protecting it, and now that I've learned the spell Hollow, I've designated a few safe rooms in there. I wasn't able to get the entire manor, unfortunately, simply because of the range of that spell, and well, the components are a touch expensive even for my resources.
Quite, yes. Uh, Fiends of that caliber can be quite difficult to prepare against.
Right. Well, there is also the contract that will hopefully protect me to some degree, and so long as Angelique stays near me, then he shouldn't be able to get too close.
Hmm.
It's not a guarantee, but it's something at the very least.
I can also
Hmm.
look into certain things in the realm of preparation, maybe even protection. Um,
Mhm.
See what I can find.
Mm. There was one thought I had had, and I think she'll reach into her skirt pocket and pull out her little golden pocket mirror and kind of examine it for a moment. Mm. This used to have an enchantment upon it that would protect me from the Prince of Gourds, but well, either through it losing its enchantment or supposedly my brother sabotaging it somehow, it no longer has that protection. If I could get it re-enchanted somehow, then that would be quite useful as well. Unfortunately, the person who enchanted it, well, Prince only mentioned her briefly in passing, but it sounded like she was someone my mother was acquainted with. So if I were to search for her, I would have to return to Strios, which, admittedly, I none of us would be quite too keen on.
Hmm.
Mm.
If it
Not to
helps,
mention, we would have no idea where to start looking for her.
I certainly can try. Try to uh, find someone in that regards. In the meantime, until we can find this individual, I'm certain we can try to have an artificer or someone of that sort look at it. Um,
It is true. There are quite a few more magically adept people in Nyquil than there would be in Strios.
I happen to
I
know
mean,
one.
well,
Oh,
oh, really now?
yes. Uh, he kind of grimaces and he's just gonna say it. She does not quite like me, but
Ah.
I'm certain I can get Satomi-kun to talk to her.
Hmm. Well, I see. Well, as long as she would be willing to speak to me, then it would certainly be helpful.
It's like, in any case, if you do intend on going back to Strios, you are definitely not going alone.
Almost certainly. At the very least, I would. Well, Anjali goes with us everywhere, and at the very least, if no one else can come with me, we could always bring Xavier along. Well, he doubles as a bodyguard, so if nothing else, he would look after us. And oh, there is also. I think she'll open the pocket mirror and show off the little sending stone that she has embedded into the inside of it. I recently picked this up so that I can keep in better contact with the professor. You know how adverse he is to carrying a plot device with him, but admittedly this would be quite a bit more reliable. So if I were to go out traveling, then I would have a direct line to him at the very least.
Huh. That is very good.
Hmm.
That reminds me. Do I have that old
Hmm.
sending stone? I should get that fixed. And he's mostly talking to himself there, but he kind of shakes his head and he's just something for later.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hesitant as we are to go back, admittedly we would there would be another reason to search for this individual. That being that, well, if she was acquainted with our mother, then perhaps we could learn a little bit more about her and where she came from. It's not a top priority compared to getting the mirror enchanted once more, but well, it would be nice to know a little bit more about her and not have it filtered through that prince's awful words.
Hmm. Luna, please stop making noises at me. You're distracting me.
Oh, she has so much to say.
She's just trilling at me, baby. Anyway,
Oh, baby.
um, he goes, finding some truth in the midst of chaos is quite the detective thing to do. Maybe I can persuade you onto that career path.
Perhaps. I mean, well, admittedly, we haven't had too many thoughts of the future, given our. We'd like to overcome our current situation first and make sure we have a future to live through. We have been thinking about it a little bit, though. Perhaps you might even try going to college at some point. We were discussing it with Leo and his friend Estelle the other day.
Oh, you've met Estelle.
Yes, we certainly did. And, well, admittedly, at the time, it was a touch awkward for poor Aurelia, given what she was confessing. But thankfully, it all worked out, and, well, now we've gained a new friend.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. College is an admirable thing. I myself intend to go back to school at some point, but I suppose I would rather get my case resolved first and figure myself
I suppose
out
we're
from
in a
there.
similar boat in that respect. Mm-hmm.
Yes, quite. And consider this a pact. We both get through our troubles, you could say, and make it to college.
Indeed. Well, here's to the future then. She'll like give him a handshake if he wants.
Yeah, he'll shake hers.
Yeah, the pact is sealed. Speaking of Strios, though, if you don't mind me bringing the mood down a touch, there is something I've been wanting to confide in someone about.
Yes.
You remember when we were in the demiplane, I showed you all those photographs of our family, specifically the one of myself when I was younger and our little cousin Anya.
Yes, the little one.
Yes, well, we've been keeping in contact with her ever since we moved. Um, and with I will note just with only her. I mean, you know the situation with our aunt. She's not
Yes.
exactly keen to be sending us any more leathers anyway.
Mm. Mm.
Mm, yeah. uh, well, speaking of her, actually, Anya mentioned in her most recent letter that sounds that her mother has taken ill recently, and well, on the one hand, I'm not too worried about her. I mean, for one thing, her husband is a doctor and quite a well renowned one from what I've heard. So at the very least, she's in good hands. But well, on one, I know I really shouldn't. I don't owe those people anything at all, but I have been considering going there to check on her and make sure that she's, well, if not her, then make sure that Anya's doing all right throughout all of this. And, well, can you promise me that if I consider going there to see her, that you'll talk me out of it, please?
If that's what you want.
Ah,
There. Hmm. Whatever you decide to do with your aunt is ultimately up to you.
mm,
You are a kind soul. All of you are. It is.
mhm,
In fact, it is quite admirable that the thought even crossed your mind, especially considering how
mhm,
she treated you. But I'd rather you. No, he doesn't say that. He says, you said it yourself. You do not owe her anything. And if she was terrible to you, you have no reason to be kind to her. At the very least.
Yes, you're quite right.
At the very least, you can just be cordial.
Indeed, I don't necessarily have to go out of my way to go and see her and all that. And besides, honestly, I'm fairly certain I'm worrying about nothing. I mean, like I said, she's being well cared for, and I'm sure she'll get over this illness well enough. It's unlikely she'd die from it, but so if that were the case, if that, yeah, she knocks on the table. uh, I shouldn't go on. I don't want to tempt fate any more than I have.
We are in the continent of tropes.
Right. Well, fortunately, that part of the family isn't, so, never mind, I'm not going to say anymore. She knocks on the wood again. Well, the important thing is that she's fine now, and I don't need to worry about it. I can leave her to her own business. And at the very least, I can comfort little Anya in my letters. Poor dear is quite worried about her mother as well.
He nods.
Yeah.
Says, God, what was he gonna say? I lost it. Damn.
Yeah.
I think what he does end up saying is, at the very least, when you do go, just let us know.
Of course. I might not be able to bring, if I were to go over there, I might not be able to bring too many people. From what I recall, they were a rather private family. They would come over to our estate during the holidays and such, but to my knowledge, I don't recall if we ever went over to theirs. Well, not sure if there was a reason for that, but honestly, they might have just been private, very private people. Or perhaps my uncle simply didn't want two little children running around messing with his materials.
Yes, doctor work is quite sensitive and dangerous to those who don't actually know the materials.
Certainly. But if we were to go there, then well, we would have a direct line to the professor, and he would be able to tell everyone if something was going on. So,
Yes.
but hopefully it won't come to that. As I've said, none of us are exactly eager to be going back there anytime soon.
Can't imagine you would be.
I don't think there's anything else she really wants to talk about. I don't know if there's anything Azumi would bring up, or...
No, I don't think so. I think if they're done, Azumi might just stand back up, and he says, "Well, we still have the rest of the day. If you'd like to keep looking around, exploring a little bit, if you're feeling a bit adventurous."
I just might be, just a touch. She kind of giggles as she'll stand up, and if Azumi offers his arm to her again, she'll take it.
Yeah, and he just goes, adventurous enough to try the faster roller coaster.
Perhaps. I just hope my glasses don't go flying off.
Alright.
And, yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah! That's such a wonderful place to wrap it up.
I hold these two very gently.
Thank you so much for playing with me.
Yeah, thank you for playing with me. It was a good time.
Hmm.
And thank you to our listening audience, both present and future. And we wish you all a very good time zone. Bye, everybody.
Bye!